Each year, the United States harvests more than 9 million tons of seafood, supporting millions of families and powering an industry worth tens of billions of dollars. Yet behind the familiar fish that appear on dinner tables lies an entirely different world of harvesting. One where the targets are creatures so unusual that most people have never even heard their names. They may be ancient fish that have survived since prehistoric times, invasive predators silently devastating ecosystems, or swamp monsters, powerful enough to snap a fishing line tight in an instant. Today, join Agriculture Insight as we explore 4 of the most unusual and astonishing harvesting targets in America, where the line between ecological control, survival instinct, and enormous profit can sometimes be separated by nothing more than a single precise shot. Known as a living fossil with a history spanning more than 150 million years, the bowfin has long been dismissed by many as little more than swamp trash. A fish with soft flesh and filled with tiny bones. However, as global supplies of sturgeon have become increasingly scarce, the bowfin has unexpectedly risen to prominence in the luxury food industry by producing roe that serves as a rising alternative to traditional caviar, as the classic caviar market gradually runs dry. Every year from December to February, fishing trips turn into intense races against time, the brief window when the roe still retains its natural pale yellow color. At this stage, it has not yet turned the deep orange associated with full spawning, meaning it still meets the quality standards required for caviar production. To capture this fierce species, fishermen rely not only on traditional rods, but more commonly on mechanized reel fishing techniques. The process begins with preparing bait. Slices of fish meat or small scented pellets are carefully hooked onto single hooks to attract bowfin in slow-moving currents. When a bowfin strikes, the strength of this fish, capable of breathing air through a modified swim bladder, immediately pulls the line tight, sending heavy pressure surging through the reel. Fishermen must coordinate carefully between controlling the drag and cranking the reel to withstand the fish's violent thrashing. Because of its aggressive nature and sharp jaws, the bowfin will resist fiercely right up to the side of the boat. Anglers must act quickly to net the fish and stabilize its body, protecting the delicate structure of the ovaries inside. Only female fish whose roe has reached the ideal maturity, with firm, separated eggs and glossy shells, are kept. On average, a mature bowfin can yield between 0.5 and nearly 1 kilogram of roe, bringing significant profit when fishermen intercept the right migration routes. From there, each jar of roe can sell for several dozen to nearly $100. While still far cheaper than traditional sturgeon caviar, it is enough to transform a once overlooked fish into an economic lifeline, sustaining entire fishing communities across the deep southern regions of the United States. Imagine diving deep into the ocean, where beneath the surface lies a vast ecosystem, bursting with color and life. But behind the mesmerizing beauty of the coral reefs in Florida and the Bahamas lurks one of the world's most dangerous fish, the lionfish. An invasive predator capable of wiping out up to 80% of native fish populations within just a few weeks, causing devastating consequences for the ecosystem. The crisis began in the late 20th century, when a few individuals from the Indo-Pacific were released into the Atlantic Ocean through the ornamental aquarium trade. From that moment, a chain reaction disaster unfolded. With an astonishing reproduction rate, a single female can produce up to 2 million eggs per year, and a stomach capable of expanding 30 times its normal size, lionfish have become living vacuum cleaners, devouring everything from juvenile fish to lobster larvae and pushing coral reefs toward collapse. To combat an enemy with virtually no natural predators in these waters, humans have been forced to intervene urgently. The most effective method today especially in shallow waters and coral reef environments, is surprisingly simple yet precise, using handheld spear devices paired with 3-pronged spear tips. Because lionfish are extremely confident and show little fear, they often remain motionless, displaying their venomous spines instead of fleeing. Divers simply approach at close range, aim for the head, and release the rubber-powered spear, sending the tip straight through the target. Immediately afterward, the fish is placed into a zookeeper, a specialized rigid plastic cylindrical device designed to remove the fish from the spear without direct hand contact, ensuring complete safety from the deadly venom carried in its spines. The effectiveness of this manual method is truly astonishing. At professional tournaments, such as the Emerald Coast Open 2024, divers removed more than 11,000 lionfish in just a few days. In broader community campaigns across Florida, that number has surpassed 30,000 fish removed from the ocean, demonstrating the remarkable impact of spear diving teams. Alongside commercial harvesting, another dramatic and controversial method has emerged: spearing lionfish and then directly offering them to sharks or groupers. The key goal is to train top predators in the Atlantic food chain to recognize lionfish as a food source. Divers spear the lionfish and gently shake the spear tip to attract sharks or groupers, encouraging them to approach and enjoy the free meal. However, this method is something of a double-edged sword. On one hand, it hopes to create a long-term natural control mechanism. On the other hand, it may alter the behavior of native predators, causing sharks or groupers to develop the dangerous habit of following divers in anticipation of food. This not only increases risks for divers, but could also weaken the predator's natural hunting instincts. Furthermore, without proper training, sharks may still be stung by the 18 sharp venomous dorsal spines if they fail to swallow the prey headfirst. Ultimately, whether through spearing or training predators, the most sustainable strategy is still putting lionfish on the dinner table. Under the slogan, "Eat them to beat them," turning this invasive species into a culinary delicacy not only helps protect coral reefs, but also creates economic opportunities for local communities, helping restore the natural rhythm of the ocean. If lionfish are the vacuum cleaners destroying coral reefs, then the American alligator is the uncrowned king of the southern freshwater world, ruling over an industry worth more than $100 million each year, where the line between luxury delicacy, conservation symbol, and massive economic resource is separated by nothing more than a single precise shot. From the brink of extinction due to rampant hunting in the 1960s, the United States orchestrated one of the most remarkable wildlife recoveries in history. In Louisiana alone, the alligator population surged from fewer than 100,000 individuals to more than 1.5 million within just half a century. Harvesting alligators is not for the faint-hearted. The most common technique is known as tree-line hunting. Hunters hang massive baited hooks, usually with chicken or carp, from branches just above the water's surface. Remarkably, an alligator's strike is incredibly fast, occurring in just 0.2 to 0.3 seconds, faster than a human blink. The moment prey touches the water in front of its snout, the massive jaws snap shut like a steel trap. This is when the real battle begins. Once hooked, the alligator thrashes violently, forcing hunters to pull it alongside the boat by hand. To dispatch the animal humanely and safely, they use a bang stick, a specialized firearm device fitted with a large caliber round. A single, precise push into the weak spot just behind the skull instantly shuts down the central nervous system. But the margin for error is razor thin. Miss by even an inch, and the hunter may find themselves face to face with a set of deadly jaws. a brutal reality that keeps this profession ranked among the most dangerous jobs on Earth. Yet, the sustainable foundation of the alligator industry does not rely solely on hunting. It is built upon a system known as ranching, a model designed to reinvest directly into nature. During summer, helicopters and airboats venture deep into remote swamps to collect eggs from wild nests, where natural mortality rates can reach up to 90% due to flooding and predators. Under controlled conditions, the hatch rate becomes nearly perfect. In return, farms are legally required to release 12% of the raised alligators back into the wild once they reach about 1.2 meters in length, ensuring the long-term stability of wild populations. All collected eggs are then transported to modern farms where they are raised under optimal conditions according to strict government regulations. Legally, not just anyone can enter this business. Hunters and farmers must possess both official licenses and authorization permits, while landowners must provide documented proof of legal ownership over the harvesting areas. After harvest, the belly skin, the most valuable part of the alligator, is considered one of the most luxurious materials in the world. It is transformed into high-end handbags in Paris and Milan, often selling for tens of thousands of dollars. To ensure transparency, every skin leaving the facility must carry a CITES tag with a unique serial number, along with a resource tax of approximately $4.25 per tag, which is reinvested into conservation funds. As a result, the alligator today is no longer merely the terror of the swamp. It has become a valuable natural resource, proof that humanity can harvest nature intelligently, efficiently, and sustainably. More than $2.5 billion in damages every year, with no sign of slowing down. Wild hogs, the longtime enemy of millions of farmers, are turning fertile fields into true battlegrounds. With their population exploding from 2 million to nearly 9 million in less than 40 years, this species is not only aggressive, but also increasingly cunning, challenging every traditional control method and pushing agriculture into a genuine fight for survival. The real danger of wild hogs lies in their reproductive power, which far exceeds normal natural limits. A single pair can produce dozens of offspring within just 1 year. And to prevent the population from expanding further, humans must eliminate at least 70% of them annually, an almost impossible task for lone hunters. This enormous pressure has transformed wild hog control in the United States into a high-tech, high-stakes industry. Instead of relying on hunting dogs, large farms now favor smart corral trap systems controlled via satellite. Hunters can remain at home while monitoring entire herds through real-time thermal cameras, and with a single tap on their phone, a steel gate slams shut, capturing an entire family of wild hogs in an instant. This method fully exploits the social behavior of wild hogs, where the entire sounder moves and feeds together under the guidance of a dominant leader. Once they enter the trap's coverage zone, their herd instinct prevents them from abandoning one another, allowing hunters to eliminate an entire generation rather than merely shooting a few individuals and letting the survivors escape and grow even more cautious. But when traps alone are not enough to turn the tide, the battle escalates to a new level: firepower from the sky. In Texas, helicopter hunting using thermal-equipped rifles has become the ultimate solution. Across the wide-open plains, helicopters act as mobile combat platforms, allowing hunters to wipe out dozens of hogs within just minutes of flight, a staggering efficiency that ground methods might take months to achieve. Yet hidden within this crisis lies an unexpected opportunity. The explosive rise of this invasive species has opened a promising wild food market. Unlike industrial pork, American wild hog meat is prized for its lean composition, firm texture, and rich flavor, developed from an entirely natural diet. At specialized processing facilities, captured hogs undergo strict inspections before entering the supply chain as a sustainable protein source for upscale restaurants. From smoked sausages to refined slow-cooked dishes, wild hogs are gradually transforming from a despised agricultural menace into a valuable culinary delicacy that brings economic returns to local communities. Destroying in order to preserve, hunting to serve the dinner table. Wild hogs represent one of the clearest examples of humanity's effort to turn an ecological disaster into a new value chain. In fact, helicopter hunting tourism has now become a booming industry of its own, attracting wealthy travelers willing to pay up to $5,000 per flight, transforming what was once a national budget burden into a thrilling money-making machine. Just a thin slice, yet it can contain more than 1,000 wriggling larvae. Not feces. Today, we're talking about casu marzu, a cheese born from the digestive and excretory process of living maggots. To create casu marzu, the people of Sardinia start with traditional pecorino cheese, made from sheep's milk. Right after milking, the milk is gently heated and kept at about 36 degrees Celsius. Once it reaches the ideal temperature, the cheesemaker adds rennet and waits about 40 minutes for the milk to coagulate into a uniform mass. This mass is then cut into small pieces with a special tool, breaking its structure down until a fine curd is obtained. The curds are strained through a basket, reheated, and then transferred into molds to shape the fresh cheese. The freshly molded cheese is soaked in brine and then aged for several months to develop the characteristic pecorino flavor. Once it reaches a certain level of maturity, the cheese wheels are placed in naturally suitable, well-ventilated environments. This setting attracts the Pyophila cassiae fly, which lays its eggs there. When the larvae hatch, they begin feeding on the cheese, releasing natural enzymes that break down the internal structure and create the soft, pungent, infamous filling known as casu marzu. When the casu marzu is finally formed, another challenge appears. The larvae are still alive inside the cheese. What's remarkable is that they can survive the human digestive system despite the stomach's harsh acidity, potentially causing dangerous issues such as vomiting. And that's not all. These tiny maggots can jump up to 15 centimeters. So when eating the cheese, Sardinians often wear glasses or cover their eyes to avoid any unexpected accidents. Although banned from commercial sale by a 1962 law, the dish has never disappeared. In Sardinia, people still consider it part of their culinary heritage, so much so that authorities often look the other way, allowing the tradition to persist along with the intense, unmistakable flavor of one of Italy's most extraordinary cheeses. In 1958, Japan was forced to ban fugu preparation in many regions due to the high number of fatalities. Ironically, a single small pufferfish can kill up to 30 people with a toxin 1,200 times stronger than cyanide. Yet even that isn't enough to stop diners who are captivated by the unique flavor that only fugu can offer. Because of the immense risks involved in eating it, the preparation of pufferfish is carried out with near absolute precision. When the fish has been cleaned, the chef begins with a small incision behind the head to immobilize it, ensuring the rest of the process is smooth and exact. Next, the sharp fins are carefully removed for use in traditional dishes. The mouth is trimmed as well to eliminate toxins present in the salivary glands and to prevent any unexpected reaction during handling. Only after all these preparations are complete does the true dissection begin. Inside a pufferfish lie 4 areas with extremely high toxin concentrations: the liver, ovaries, intestines, and skin. Removing them requires precision akin to microsurgery. Every cut must be at the correct point, with the correct pressure, and performed in a strict sequence that allows no deviation. All internal organs are then sealed and disposed of as hazardous material, a testament to the profession's rigor. When the final fillet is prepared, the chef moves on to the most artistic stage, slicing sashimi. The translucent, paper-thin pieces are arranged into the shape of a chrysanthemum, a symbol of purity and a tribute to the chef's refined technique. Enjoying fugu is not merely about taste, but about appreciating the precision, focus, and tradition embodied in each slice. Beyond sashimi, pufferfish is prepared in many other bold ways. In Korea, the meat is stir-fried in a fiery red sauce. In Japan, fugu tempura becomes light and delicate, with a crisp coating that reveals the firm white flesh inside. Farewell to the dangerous pufferfish processing lines. We now step into a completely different world, one where one of the most expensive and extraordinary coffees on the planet is created from the droppings of a civet. Have you ever wondered why people still confidently drink civet coffee, even though it originates from the digestive tract of an animal? The reason lies in a production process far cleaner than most would imagine. Civets select only the ripest coffee cherries, what farmers call naturally hand-picked fruits, which make up less than 10% of an entire plantation. When swallowed, the coffee beans aren't mixed with waste. Instead, they are exposed only to digestive enzymes, creating a unique fermentation process that no modern technology can replicate. Each morning, workers collect the civet droppings and hand-separate the intact beans before transferring them into large water tanks for repeated washing. The beans are stirred thoroughly to remove the biological mucilage, dirt, and microorganisms, then disinfected and left to drain. Only the beans that pass this strict cleaning process are roasted in small roasting machines, kept consistently between 180 to 220 degrees Celsius for 15 to 20 minutes. This step demands absolute precision. Even minor changes in temperature or airflow can completely alter the signature aroma. Compared to regular coffee, civet beans have already undergone natural fermentation inside the civet's body, altering their protein and sugar structures. This allows the beans to roast evenly from the core outward, reducing harshness and producing a distinctive sweet aftertaste. When the beans reach the perfect crack point, they are rapidly cooled and moved into specialized grinders. Thanks to the softened structure created by enzymatic action, the beans grind more smoothly, producing fine, fluffy coffee powder that ensures maximum flavor extraction. It is this rarity, combined with such meticulous processing techniques, that drives the price of civet coffee to $800 to $2,500 USD per kilogram, earning its status as one of the most expensive coffees in the world. We now move on to the production line of natto, the fermented soybean dish known as Japan's legendary warrior of aroma, boasting a history of more than 1,000 years. The journey begins with tiny soybeans, yet the selection standards are surprisingly strict. Only about 15% of the harvested beans are round, uniform, and rich enough in protein to qualify. Their small size helps them absorb heat quickly and allows bacteria to penetrate more easily, creating natto's iconic, sticky texture. After selection, the beans enter an industrial washing system, where swirling water at pressures reaching 120 liters per minute and continuous air bubbles scrub away dirt and dried skin. Once thoroughly cleaned, the beans are soaked and transferred to a high-pressure steamer at around 120 degrees Celsius, softening the protein layers in preparation for fermentation. While the beans are still hot, workers perform the most crucial step, inoculating them with natto culture. The starter containing Bacillus subtilis var natto is sprayed through an ultra-fine nozzle, coating every bean in less than 3 seconds, ensuring the bacteria latch on immediately. The beans are then moved into a fermentation chamber, maintained at 40 degrees Celsius, the ideal temperature for bacterial activity. Here, the microbes quietly break down proteins and create polyglutamic acid, the substance that gives natto its ability to stretch into strands up to 1 meter long. After 18 to 20 hours, once the batch reaches peak fermentation, it is sent directly to the packaging line, where foam trays glide along the conveyor belt. A precision dispenser drops the perfect portion of warm, fluffy natto into each tray. Next, a packet of shoyu sauce is automatically added, completing the flavor profile. Within seconds, the trays are sealed tightly and ready to leave the production line. For natto lovers, this is a uniquely bold, savory, deeply traditional delicacy. But for first-timers, this fermented soybean dish can be a true aroma challenge that tests their courage at first encounter. Unlike the rest of the world, there is a dish for which clean isn't a standard. It is, in fact, the enemy. That dish is Sweden's infamous fermented herring, surströmming, whose smell is often described as a blend of rotting meat, dirty diapers, and blue cheese. Along the coastal factories of Northern Europe, the journey of surströmming begins the moment the herring is pulled from the water. On the deck, instead of sending the fish into a standard cleaning process like other seafood, the crew sprinkles them with a thin layer of coarse salt. The salt level is only about 6 to 8%, just enough to keep the fish slightly firm and prevent early spoilage, yet low enough to leave breathing room for lactic acid bacteria, the key players in the upcoming fermentation. Once the catch arrives at the processing plant, the herring is handled in a way that almost completely defies conventional food production. Instead of removing the internal organs, the workers make a small incision near the gills. A portion of the fish's natural enzymes is intentionally left inside, just enough to jumpstart fermentation when the herring is submerged in a mild brine. Here, massive fermentation tanks act as artificial stomachs, maintaining a steady temperature of 15 to 18 degrees Celsius for 6 to 8 weeks. Then comes the boldest step. The fish is canned while still alive in its microbial environment. No cooking, no sterilizing, just sealed steel cans, leaving the rest of the transformation to time. In the months that follow, the cans begin to bulge as gases build up inside, turning each one into a mini fermentation chamber that completes the dish's notorious flavor. Introduced in the 1950s, born from the need to create a cheese slice that was more stable and easier to store than traditional cheeses, Kraft singles today are found almost everywhere, from burger counters and industrial kitchens to global fast food chains, with billions of slices produced and consumed each year. More visually appealing than cheddar when melted, more resilient than fresh mozzarella, yet not legally considered real cheese, this product is in fact a processed cheese, containing only about 51% real cheese. The rest is water, emulsifying salts, and technical ingredients designed to control structure and melting behavior. With overwhelming popularity in the processed cheese slice segment, Kraft singles are estimated to generate around USD 1.5 billion in profit annually for Kraft Heinz, enough to place the product among the company's crown jewels, alongside global icons such as Heinz Ketchup, Kraft Mac and Cheese, and Velveeta. To create a perfectly melting Kraft single slice, everything begins with ingredient selection, where base cheese blocks such as cheddar, Colby, and other semi-hard cheeses are carefully chosen. Once the ingredients meet the required standards, the cheese blocks are transferred onto the processing conveyor and enter the grinding stage, where the breakdown of structure is controlled down to the finest detail. At this stage, the cheese blocks must be kept in a solid state to prevent phase separation of fat and protein prior to emulsification. Industrial blades rotate continuously to break the cheese blocks into smaller pieces, increasing surface area and preparing the material for the subsequent emulsification cooking step. At the same time, air becomes the invisible enemy of the entire process. If oxygen is drawn in during grinding, it can trigger oxidation reactions, altering flavor and disrupting the color that must remain stable. For this reason, the grinding system is designed to be nearly fully enclosed, minimizing air intrusion and keeping the cheese in an absolutely stable state before it moves on to the next stage. With traditional cheese, shelf life after opening typically lasts only 5 to 7 days. In contrast, craft singles can remain stable for 30 to 60 days in the refrigerator. This difference does not come from magic, but from the step where emulsifying salts and water are added, and the mixture is cooked in a continuous system for just a few minutes. Here, the cheese transitions from a solid, separated, and difficult-to-control state into a molten form, ready to be shaped and transformed into millions of craft singles slices. After melting, the cheese is poured into molds, where it solidifies again under controlled temperature and pressure, forming uniform blocks ready for the cutting stage. From these formed blocks, the processed cheese is sliced into standard pieces of approximately 9 × 9 centimeters, only a few millimeters thick, using high-speed cutting systems operating continuously. Immediately after cutting, each cheese slice is wrapped in a thin film to secure its shape, then sent directly through a controlled cooling water bath. The cold water rapidly lowers the temperature, locking in thickness and cut edges before the slice has a chance to spread or warp, while also bringing the temperature down to a safe range so the subsequent wrapping process can proceed smoothly. The entire cycle is completed in approximately 30 seconds, using a circulated water system that is sterilized and closely monitored, ensuring that each slice retains its structure without absorbing water. This practice of individually wrapping each slice during the cooling stage is a distinctive feature of Kraft's production line. Rather than allowing the cheese to fully stabilize before packaging, Kraft fixes the shape and state of each slice within the thermal process itself, ensuring high uniformity, easy separation, and consistent quality in use, an approach that is critical for large-scale industrial production. After the cooling stage, the slices are transferred directly to the automated packaging area, where pick-and-place robots handle the entire operation. Mechanical arms move along precisely repeated paths, lifting each slice, placing it into trays, and aligning positions before sealing, at speeds that can exceed 200 slices per minute. Human workers only supervise and perform random inspections, while consistency, hygiene, and production pace are entrusted entirely to machines, fast, precise, and tireless. Farewell to Kraft singles and the familiar rich, creamy cheese slices. Up next, we turn to butter, the strategic pillar of the global dairy industry. To produce butter, everything begins with fresh milk, a familiar raw material that is strictly controlled from the very first moment. When tanker trucks arrive at the plant, the milk is pumped directly into stainless steel silos within a closed system, with minimal exposure to air. Temperature is kept stable from farm to factory to prevent oxidation and bacterial growth. Before entering production, the milk must pass a series of tests: fat content, pH, microbiological levels, antibiotic residues, and impurities. A single deviation is enough for an entire truckload to be rejected, because in butter production, quality always takes precedence over yield. Milk that has met quality standards is gently warmed and fed into a centrifugal cream separator. At speeds exceeding 7,000 revolutions per minute, The lighter fat fraction is separated as cream, while the remainder becomes skim milk. The cream remains liquid, fat-rich, and serves as the core ingredient for subsequent churning and butter production. After being pasteurized at approximately 85 to 90 degrees Celsius for a short period and aged at 5 to 10 degrees Celsius for several hours, the cream remains in liquid form and is transferred directly into an industrial butter churn, where the transformation truly begins. Under continuous agitation, the fat structure breaks down. The cream gradually thickens, then small butter grains appear and aggregate together. The liquid separated during this process is buttermilk, commonly used in food processing, while the butter in granular form is collected and prepared for the subsequent processing stages. Immediately afterward, the butter mass is washed with cold water at 5 to 10 degrees Celsius to remove nearly all remaining buttermilk, a critical step that determines the product's shelf stability. If buttermilk is not thoroughly removed, the butter can turn sour within just a few days. When properly handled, however, the butter can maintain its quality for many months. Next, the washed butter is transferred to specialized working machines. Through controlled pressing, folding, and mixing, the butter gradually transitions from a loose, non-uniform granular state into a cohesive, smooth, and pliable mass, with moisture evenly distributed throughout. At this stage, the butter reaches a fat content of 80 to 82%, meeting global commercial standards. Finally, the butter is formed into small retail blocks or large units of 20 to 25 kilograms and even 200 to 500 kilograms for industrial kitchens. Batches of butter weighing more than an automobile. Just minutes later, the butter enters the most demanding area of the factory, the packaging zone, where temperatures are constantly maintained at 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, nearly as cold as a meat storage facility. Here, speed is no longer an advantage but a matter of survival. If the line runs 3 to 5 seconds slower than designed, friction and ambient heat alone are enough to soften the butter's surface and cause deformation before sealing can occur. Packaging, therefore, serves more than a protective outer layer. The factory uses multi-layer materials coated with polymer or thin aluminum to block light and foreign odors. Even a minor deviation can cause the butter to lose its aroma and decline in quality within just a few weeks. Before shipment, the butter undergoes final quality checks on packaging integrity, weight, shape, and sample analysis to ensure compliance with standards. Every autumn, nearly 3.4 million metric tons of apples pour into Washington, a large portion of which consists of utility-grade apples. Not beautiful enough for store shelves, yet perfectly crisp and sweet, making them the golden ingredient for surprisingly rich and flavorful juice batches. Before processing, the apples are moved into massive recirculating water tanks, where a combination of aeration and dilute chlorine is used to knock off dirt and impurities. The cleansing process then continues with high-pressure water jets, which meticulously scrub every small crevice on the skin. After the rigorous cleaning process is complete, the fresh apples are transferred onto a dewatering conveyor system. Here, they pass through a system of rotating and vibrating rollers, which helps completely drain the surface water. This process is often combined with a gentle stream of warm air to ensure the apples are dried most effectively, without compromising the quality of the fruit. Next, the apple mill operates as a cell disruption chamber. Inside, a rotating shaft is fitted with dozens of high-speed cutting blades or crushing hammers. As apples drop in, centrifugal force presses them against a stainless steel sieve, simultaneously crushing them and controlling the particle size. This specific design helps preserve the apple's full flavor without any metallic off-taste from rusty steel, minimizes heat generation, and protects the natural enzymes before pressing. Thanks to the intense pressure from a high-capacity screw press system, all the liquid is extracted from the mash. However, to achieve industrial-grade clarity, the decisive step is microfiltration using stainless steel pipes. At this stage, only small molecules like water and sugar can pass through. Up to 99% of microorganisms, enzymes, and colloidal particles are securely trapped on the surface. But did you know that the 100% juice label on apple juices today doesn't necessarily mean they are pressed entirely from fresh apples? Many products are actually reconstituted concentrates, or even blended with grape or pear juice to lower costs. Therefore, every drop of original, unadulterated apple juice is not only distinct in flavor, but also reflects a level of honesty that not every production line dares to uphold. In Mexico, aloe vera is an ingredient famous for its strict requirements regarding processing speed. From the moment it is cut from the field, the aloe must complete the entire processing stage in under 4 hours. Any delay will cause the enzymes in the leaves to spontaneously activate a degradation process, resulting in the gel turning brown and significantly reducing its biological activity. Starting this race against time, the leaves are moved straight to the production line, cleaned, and then dipped into a surface stabilization tank. This step is not merely soaking in water. It effectively creates an environment for immediate oxidation inhibition, helping keep the gel clear and slowing down decomposition. But to me, the most fascinating stage must be the cutting and filleting of the aloe flesh, as this step demands swiftness and the precise skill of material sensing, down to the millimeter. The aloe gel does not cling tightly to the rind but slides on an extremely thin layer of cells, only a few tens of micrometers thick. Therefore, the worker must simultaneously handle 3 key factors: positioning the knife close to the rind, maintaining an absolutely stable cutting angle, and controlling the knife's force, strong enough to fully separate the entire gel block, yet delicate enough not to pierce the flesh, containing all the expensive active compounds unique to aloe vera. Only the purest gel, which retains its biological structure and natural viscosity, is channeled into the extraction line for making gel or beverages. However, not everyone knows. Aloe vera products should ideally be consumed within a maximum of 1 to 3 months from the date of manufacture, because the longer they are stored, the more sharply the biological compounds decrease. Beverages can ferment, and gels will oxidize, even if their appearance remains completely normal. After harvesting, pineapples have a maximum of only 4 hours to be delivered to the factory before natural enzymes and sugars begin to soften the core. In the past, processing pineapples was a challenge due to the thick rind, deep-set eyes, and fibrous core. But today's state-of-the-art technology has thoroughly overcome these weak points, making the entire procedure significantly gentler. After being cleaned by high-capacity, swirling spray nozzles, workers only need to trim both ends to create flat surfaces. The delicate remainder is entrusted to the gripping mechanism and rotary blade system. Stable clamping pressure keeps the fruit perfectly centered, while the blade cuts precisely into the deep-set eyes while maintaining minimal material waste. The entire operation takes less than 5 seconds, replacing manual effort that could sometimes take tens of minutes. But that efficiency is not the final goal. On modern production lines, a single pressing cycle is sufficient to simultaneously strip the peel and core the center. Thanks to the self-centering blade system, the pineapple emerges from the machine as a cylindrical block, with a consistency error of only a few millimeters. From here, the pineapple is sliced and packaged entirely by machine, ready to enter the bags of pre-cut fruit, the highest consumption segment in the entire fresh fruit supply chain every day. Before becoming a sweet icon, the journey of the strawberry begins in the temperate fields of California, where farmers spend more than 6 months of continuous care before harvesting the first crop. Workers use small tipped knives to remove the stem along the contour of the calyx, avoiding the white flesh inside, which bruises easily. Damaged berries are then discarded, since even a single bruised fruit in a batch can alter the flavor of the whole batch of jam and cause it to discolor more quickly. The next step is ultra-fast freezing at temperatures dozens of degrees below zero. This step is costly because it requires high-capacity freezing chambers running continuously, but in return, it is the key condition that allows all the water to crystallize into tiny ice crystals, helping lock in the bright red color, the sweet-tart balance, and the fibrous structure. The strawberries are thawed slowly to prevent breakage, then cooked at a temperature below boiling. This heat is enough to concentrate the sugars without destroying the organic acids and aromatic essential oils, the elements that create the true strawberry flavor. During cooking, the sugar gradually seeps into each layer of fruit, giving the jam a supple, glossy texture while still preserving the visible strands of fruit, completely different from jams made with gelatin, which have a uniform, depthless structure. When the jam reaches the ideal consistency, it is poured into glass jars and sealed with tin lids while still hot. The tin lids are not just aesthetic. Once tightened, they create an almost vacuum-like environment that prevents microbial intrusion without the need for preservatives, and they do not react with fruit acids, so the aroma and flavor remain intact over time. With this rigorous process, in Europe alone, where annual strawberry jam consumption reaches up to 480,000 tons, whole fruit strawberry jam has become so popular that nearly every household keeps a jar in the kitchen. Right after sugarcane juice leaves the press, it still contains fibers, dust, and tiny organic compounds, impurities invisible to the naked eye. For this reason, a very small amount of lime is added to pull all impurities down to the bottom. This reaction works much like the clarification process used in Heineken's beer, or the clarification of Tropicana's fruit juice, using a chemical agent to bind and coagulate impurities, allowing the sugarcane juice to become crystal clear and ready for the concentration stage. As the juice passes through a multi-stage evaporator system, only the water disappears. The sugars gradually thicken into a golden syrup. Most major brands invest heavily in this stage, because the evaporation rate and vacuum level directly determine the color, aroma, and stability of the final sugar. In the crystallization phase, seed sugar crystals are added as initial nuclei for the solution to cling to, gradually growing into well-defined crystals. The formation of the first sugar grains is similar to the way sea salt or crystal glass is cultivated, a single guiding crystal for the entire batch. Once crystallized, the mixture enters a centrifuge, where the crystals are separated from the molasses. Raw golden sugar retains 3 to 5% cane molasses, giving it a natural caramel aroma, while refined white sugar reaches 99.9% sucrose, precisely the purity level required by confectionery companies to ensure consistent flavor across millions of products. Even after centrifugation, the crystals remain slightly moist and prone to clumping, so they are dried to an optimal moisture level. For segments requiring absolute whiteness, such as sugar used for marshmallows or fondant, the crystals are even redissolved, filtered through multiple layers of materials, and centrifuged again to eliminate any remaining pigments. The final result is pure white sugar granules, so uniform that they look almost identical. But here's the interesting part: they were never truly identical. Natural variation between crystals is merely minimized through controlled crystallization and industrial grading systems, making them appear perfectly consistent to the human eye. Tomato sauce is among the most widely consumed vegetable-based products in the world, thanks to its limitless versatility. It appears in thousands of culinary recipes, but few people know that behind a seemingly simple bottle of sauce lies an entire industry operating under global standards. The journey begins when tens of tons of tomatoes are unloaded onto the factory's receiving conveyor, to enter the washing stage. Here, the flume water system is considered the international standard. Water is pushed into a gentle, controlled current, strong enough to sweep away impurities, yet soft enough not to bruise the extremely delicate flesh. For tomato sauce, factories often prioritize the hot break method, rapidly heating the crushed tomatoes to a very high temperature to deactivate enzymes and preserve a stable thickness. The tomatoes are fed into industrial grinders, where steel blades turn them into a fine puree. Immediately afterward, the mixture is passed through sieves and membranes to remove seeds and skins, an essential step that ensures a smooth sauce, stable color, and long shelf life. The tomato puree is cooked in steam-jacketed steel kettles, stirred continuously to prevent burning. Meanwhile, onions and garlic are sautéed in sunflower oil. On average, a 1,000-liter batch of tomato sauce requires about 9 kilograms of onions and garlic before being blended with the tomato puree, along with salt, sugar, spices, and vinegar.